This is my student support system. Keep watching, keep learning.
Brain has main four parts: cerebrum, cerebellum, diencephalon, and brainstem. Now we will discuss them one by one. First is cerebrum. This is the largest part of the brain. It is anterior and upper part of the brain. It is divided by a deep cleft known as longitudinal cerebral fissure into two hemispheres, right hemisphere and left hemisphere. The cerebral cortex, which is outermost portion of the brain, shows many infoldings or furrows of varying depth. So the exposed areas of the folds are known as gyrus or gyri, and the fissures are known as sulcus or sulci. These convolutions greatly increase the surface area of cerebrum. Here you can understand that this is the cerebrum. Okay, this is the largest portion of the brain and it has these convolutions. This is gyrus and these are sulcus. Okay, and this is divided into two hemispheres, left and right. Each cerebral hemisphere can be further subdivided into lobes. Okay, so right hemisphere also have four lobes and left hemisphere also have four lobes. The lobes are named after the bones that cover them. So what are those lobes? Frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. The superficial part or peripheral part of the cerebrum is composed of nerve cell bodies and which is also known as gray matter, forming the cerebral cortex. Within the cerebrum, the lobes are connected by masses of nerve fibers and these are known as tracts. These are white in color, so they are known as white matter of the brain. These tracts are association tracts, commissural tracts, and projection tracts. Association tracts contain axons that conduct nerve impulse between the gyri of same hemisphere. And commissural tracts, they contain axons that conduct nerve impulse from gyrus of one cerebral hemisphere to the corresponding gyrus of another cerebral hemisphere. Three important group of commissural tracts are corpus callosum, anterior commissure, and posterior commissure. Third is projection tract, which contains axons that conduct nerve impulse from the cerebrum to the lower parts like thalamus, brainstem, and spinal cord, and from lower parts to the cerebrum. And example is internal capsule. Here you can see this is the gray matter and this is the white matter, and these are also known as tracts. So these are association fibers or association tracts. These are commissural tracts, and the best example is corpus callosum. This is the corpus callosum, and these are the internal capsules. Okay, this one. Now basal ganglia. Deep within each hemisphere, there are three nuclei or masses of gray matter within the white matter. These are known as basal ganglia. They act as relay stations with connections to many parts of the brain, including motor areas of the cerebral cortex and thalamus. Their function include initiation and fine control of complex movement and learn coordinated activities such as posture and walking. Limbic system. Limbic system is a group of structures which encircles the upper part of brainstem and corpus callosum. The limbic system is also called as emotional brain because it plays a primary role in a range of emotions, including pleasure, pain, docility, affection, fear, and anger. It, it also involved in the olfaction and memory. Now, areas of cerebrum. There are many areas in the cerebrum which are associated with one or more functions. The main functional areas of the cerebrum cortex are sensory areas, motor areas, and association areas. Sensory area. Sensory area means which receive the sensation from all parts of the body. The sensory areas include somatosensory area, auditory area, olfactory area, and visual area. The motor area means the area from where the sensation goes towards the whole body, giving instructions. The motor areas includes the primary motor areas which lies in the frontal lobe. There are two neurons involved in the pathway of skeletal system known as two neuron system. The first is known as upper motor neuron, descends from the motor cortex through the internal capsule to the medulla oblongata, and here it crosses to the opposite side and then descend to the spinal cord. At appropriate level in the spinal cord, it synapses with the second neuron, that is lower motor neuron. The lower motor neuron leaves the spinal cord and travel to the target muscle. Okay, for example, muscle of the hand or muscle of the leg. And it terminates at the motor end plate of the muscle fiber. The crossing of neurons means the motor area of right hemisphere of the cerebrum controls voluntary muscle movement of the left side of the body and vice versa. Damage to either of these neurons, upper or lower, may result in the paralysis. Broca's motor speech area. This is situated in the frontal lobe just above the lateral sulcus and controls the muscle movement needed for speech. Then third one is association areas. These are connected to each other and other areas of cerebral cortex by association tracts. They receive, coordinate, and interpret impulses from the sensory and motor cortices, permitting higher cognitive abilities such as learning and memory, perception and language, planning, and higher order concept formation. Next part is cerebellum. The cerebellum lies below the posterior portion of the cerebrum. It is ovoid in the shape and has two hemispheres. The superficial layer of the cerebellum, which is also called as cerebellar cortex, consists of gray matter in a series of slender parallel folds, and these folds are called as folia. Deep to gray matter, there are tracts of white matter called arbor vitae or tree of life that resembles the branches of a tree. You can see this picture. This is cerebellum. Okay, this is cerebrum, and below this there is cerebellum, which is like this. This is cortex, and this is the arbor vitae. The cerebellum is concerned with coordination of voluntary muscles, posture, and balance. The cerebellar activities are not under voluntary control. The cerebellum controls and coordinates the movement of various group of muscles, ensuring smooth, even precise action. It coordinates activities associated with the maintenance of posture, balance, and equilibrium. Diencephalon. This is third part of the brain. This part of the brain connects cerebrum and the midbrain. It consists of several structures such as thalamus, hypothalamus, pineal gland, and optic chiasma. Thalamus consists of two masses of gray and white matter situated within the cerebral hemisphere, just below corpus callosum, one on each side of the ventricle. And hypothalamus is a small but important structure which weigh around 7 grams and consists of a number of nuclei. It is situated below and in front of the thalamus, immediately above the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus controls many body activities and is one of the major regulator of the homeostasis in our body. It controls and regulates the activities of autonomic nervous system. Here you can understand with this picture that this is thalamus and this is hypothalamus and this is space for pituitary. Brain stem. A brain stem consists of midbrain, pons, medulla and reticular formation. This is midbrain, this is pons, this is medulla and this is reticular formation. It is deep in the inner part of these structures. The midbrain is the area of the brain situated around the cerebral aqueduct between the cerebrum and the pons. It consists of nuclei as well as nerve fibers which connect cerebrum with the lower parts of the brain and with spinal cord. The interior part of the midbrain contains paired bundles of axons known as cerebral peduncles. Pons. The pons is situated in front of the cerebellum, below the midbrain and above medulla oblongata. It consists of many nerve fibers that form a bridge between the two hemispheres of the cerebellum and the fibers passing between higher level of brain, that is cerebrum, to the spinal cord and back. The anatomical structure of pons differ from the cerebrum because here in the pons the white matter is in the periphery and grey matter is in the deep. Medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata extends from pons above and continue with the spinal cord below. It is about 2.5 cm long and lie just within the cranium above foramen magnum. It acts as a relay station for sensory nerves going towards the cerebrum. The medulla contains autonomic nerve centers such as cardiac center, respiratory center, vasomotor center, and the coughing, sneezing, and vomiting center. The medulla is also site of decussation of nerve fibers. What is decussation? Decussation means crossing of the fibers from left to right and right to left. Reticular formation. The reticular formation is a collection of neurons in the core of the brainstem. It is surrounded by neural pathways that conduct ascending and descending nerve fibers between the brain and spinal cord. The reticular formation is involved in the coordination of the skeletal muscle activity associated with voluntary motor movement and maintenance of balance.
My student support system. Keep watching, keep learning.